Someone put a timeout doll at our local playground, and it's freaking me out. It all started a week ago. Someone put a timeout doll at our local playground. If you're not familiar, they're life-size dolls that look like children in timeout or playing hide and seek. They lean face first against the wall, hiding their faces with their hands. You only ever see the back of them. Some are handmade, using old kids' clothes, a hat, a wig, and some straw for stuffing. The first time I saw one at the playground, I thought it was a real kid. So did my 5-year-old. He went up to the thing and asked, "Wanna play hide and seek?" It didn't move. I watched from the bench, fear sinking in. Why isn't that kid moving? He, or she, it was hard to tell from the longish blonde hair and bucket hat, was leaned against the green plastic tunnel that Ryan liked to crawl through. Just standing there, totally still. But as I approached, I saw the plasticky shine of its curly blonde hair, the snow-white neck poking out from the shirt's collar. I raised my hand and slowly gave it a poke. It wobbled against the tunnel. It's a doll. My stomach dropped. Is this someone's idea of being cute? It felt like something an 80-year-old granny would do. The type that likes Precious Moments figurines and buys those hyper-realistic baby dolls. Or maybe it's a prank. I could see a group of teenagers leaving it here, just to freak out parents. Maybe they hide in the bushes and film people's reactions and put it on their TikTok or something. Either way, it creeped me out. Just standing there, totally still, leaned up against the tunnel like that. Its face lined up perfectly with one of the circular holes cut into the tunnel wall, like it was peering inside. "What is it?" Ryan asked, staring at it. "It's a doll. They call them timeout dolls because they look like they're in timeout," I replied. "Oh." Then he got on his hands and knees and, before I could stop him, scooted into the tunnel. "Ryan, hi!" he said, his voice echoing in the plastic. "Do you want to play?" "Come on." "It has no face. Why does it have no face?" "Come on, get out of there," I said, the uneasiness in my stomach growing. He finally popped his head out and smiled at me. "Can we make sandcastles?" "Sure," I replied. I hated making sandcastles, getting sand all over my jeans, but it was loads better than dealing with this creepy doll. A few days later, when we went back to the playground, it was still there. The after-school crowd was there, running up the jungle gym and racing down the slides. But there was one child that was standing still amongst the commotion. That stupid doll. It was in the same place as before, leaned against the tunnel. I whipped around, half expecting to see some giggling teenagers filming us. But there were only tired zombie parents glued to their phones. Chaotic kids racing across the mulch. I went back to my phone, scrolling through the news. When I looked up a minute later, the doll was in a different place. It was now leaned up against the slide, hiding its face against the green plastic. My heart sank. One of the kids must have moved it, I thought. I glanced around at all the screeching, whooping kids. Right? I waved to Ryan, about to go down the slide, and put my phone away. I didn't want to take my eyes off him anymore. He waved back, grinning toothily, his bright yellow hat sticking out among the crowd. But there is always something to distract us from our kids. Dirty dishes in the sink, unread emails. There's always something tugging at our sleeve, crying for our attention. And for me, today, it was a phone call. As I answered my client's questions about the logo and branding images I'd designed for her, my eyes strayed from the playground. And when I looked back, I couldn't see Ryan anymore. I dropped the phone and stood up. "Ryan!" Nothing. I ran around the side of the playground, and that's when I saw his yellow hat. Not on Ryan, on that fucking timeout doll. It was now leaned against the rock climbing wall, hands covering its face, shirt softly rippling in the wind, blonde shiny curls poking out from my son's hat. My blood ran cold. Animalistic fear pounded through my veins. This is wrong. So wrong. I opened my mouth to scream for Ryan.
We switched hats.
I whipped around to see Ryan standing there, perfectly fine, wearing the doll's bucket hat. I let out a breath, sunk to my knees. Thank God you're okay, I said, voice warbling, pulling him in for a hug.
I'm okay.
He replied, confused.
Can we go on the swings?
Okay, but first let's switch your hats back. Barely looking at the wretched doll, I reached over and yanked off the yellow hat. Put its hat back on, I told him, and then we made our way to the swings. I spent a while there, just pushing him, enjoying the sunny, if cold, spring day. The tension began to melt away. Ryan was safe and everything was fine. Eventually, as the sun began to set, we made our way back to the parking lot. As I mentally thought through the steps of preparing dinner, I needed to cut up some carrots, and did we remember to buy heavy cream? Ryan tugged at my sleeve.
Why is it there?
No. The doll. It was now at the edge of the parking lot, leaning against a tree. Well, one of the kids must have moved it out here.
Why?
They probably thought it was funny. Come on, let's go. We quickly got in the car and drove home. That night, I decided we'd go to a different playground for a few days. The doll was freaking me out too much. Yeah, maybe it was irrational, but no one said we had to go to that playground. I'd take him to the one in Edgewood tomorrow. As I put Ryan's hat away, I noticed several strands of curly blonde hair stuck inside. Actually, more than several. I pulled them out, my stomach turning a little, and then threw them in the trash. Then I sat down, settled in, and took a sip of tea. Just as I was finally relaxing, I heard Ryan's voice upstairs.
Mom!
I dropped the cup of tea and ran up the stairs.
Mom! Mom!
He continued yelling, fear threading his voice. I burst into the room. Ryan was cowering in the corner of his bed, covers up to his neck.
It's in my closet,
he whispered. What's in your closet? I asked, fear pounding through me.
The doll.
No. It's gotta be a nightmare. I paced towards the closet. The door was ajar, the darkness spilling out of it. With each step, my heart sank further. It can't be. It's just a nightmare. I sucked in a breath and swung the door open. No. It wasn't a nightmare. There, in the darkness, stood the timeout doll. It was leaned against the hanging clothes, pressing its face into Ryan's shirts. Its blonde curls shone softly in the darkness. I raced over to Ryan and picked him up out of bed. We're getting out of here, I said, charging out of the room and towards the stairs. It wasn't a possessed doll. Those don't exist. Someone had put the doll there, which meant someone was in our house. Mark. It could be Mark. Some sort of sick, twisted way to get back at me for getting the house in the settlement. Did he still have the keys? I raced down the stairs, Ryan bobbing with each step. When I got to the landing, I glanced back. No. The doll was at the top of the stairs now, face pressed into the wall. I raced to the front door, grabbed the doorknob, yanked it open, glanced back. The doll was on the landing. And was that a shadow next to it? Someone standing there? I ran across the front yard, towards the neighbor's house. I pounded on the door crying, "Let me in! Someone broke into our house! Please!" As I took a final glance at our house, I saw the doll leaned against the oak tree in our front yard. The police didn't find anything. No doll, no evidence of a break-in. With nothing to go on, they left, telling me they'd call if they got in touch with Mark. Ryan and I are staying at a friend's house for a few days, while we get our bearings and try to figure out what's going on here. But I'm worried, because last night, when I went to check on Ryan to see if he was asleep yet, I found an empty bed. Ryan was standing in the corner of the room, leaning against the wall, hands over his face. "What are you doing?" I whispered, tugging at his arm. "Go back to bed, now." He turned towards me, hands still pressed against his eyes.
He isn't in timeout, Mommy,
he said. I stopped in my tracks. What?
He's playing hide and seek,
He continued.
now he's hiding, and it's my turn to seek.
And that was Someone Put a Timeout Doll at Our Local Playground, and It's Freaking Me Out by BlairDaniels. Another fantastic story by BlairDaniels. She's got a real knack for this kind of stuff. So, before reading this, I didn't really know what a timeout doll was. Off the top of my head, I was like, "Oh, is it like that creepy girl from Squid Game or whatever?" No, not quite, not quite. Similar concept, but far more terrifying. And then, sure enough, in the story, it mentions how like they're at garage sales and or at grandma's house and stuff like that. And weirdly enough, yeah. So they became really popular around garage sales in like I think it was like the 1980s, most likely. Usually in the States, maybe in other countries, not entirely sure. And some people really fell in love with them, and so they would like buy them and take them home. And it's just like it's just weird, like new fear unlocked for me, kind of weird. Like why? They have no faces, and I don't understand it. Why? Why have something that looks like it's in timeout or in trouble permanently in your house, or even in your store? Or I don't under. It's a freaky concept. I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't understand the appeal of the dolls. They're creepy. They're horrifying. It reminds me of like why I don't like mannequins and specific weird, creepy little dolls, and mostly the porcelain kind. But you know, other dolls are available. Just it's just strange. It's just strange. And so this is just another one to add to the repertoire of creepy, weird things that probably shouldn't really exist. Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get it. Great story though. I love the story. Like, I mean, this is exactly what I think would happen if I encountered some horrific doll thing that I hate in real life. I mean, obviously, you know, you go to shopping malls, you see mannequins and stuff like that. They don't really do anything. They're a bit eerie, you know. Obviously, they're not going to follow you around and potentially murder you and stuff like that. Or I guess in this case, maybe turn you into one of them. Maybe like a Cabbage Patch kind of vibe going on. I'm not entirely sure. Is it an infection? Is it just a is he going to turn him into like a proper doll, or is he just going to become like a human version of him? I don't really know. Are they going to swap places? We don't really know what's going to happen, but no matter what, it's horrifying prospects all the same. Yeah, excellent story. I've been Nate at Night. I've really enjoyed myself, and I sure hope you have too. We'll catch you for whatever's next. Take care.
Thank you so much to our Patreon members and YouTube members for making all this content possible. You know who you are.